Hello and welcome to the United Devil channel with me, JB. I hope we're all doing really well on this Monday, the 28th of July. So I think we are currently about 3 weeks, just under 3 weeks away from the game against Arsenal. So in 3 weeks' time, we are going to know what the score is and how we are in our first game. So I hope we're all doing really well after the weekend. It's another Monday. Another Monday's come around. Don't know what you're doing. I'd love to know what you're doing, what you're up to. I'm currently on 6 weeks with the children half term, so I'm going to try to do these streams as best I can, bring them to you. Tomorrow I'm on the road, but I will be bringing you a show from Swansea tomorrow in Wales, because I will be up and on the road, but I'm still going to bring news to you, good people. And of course, we've got to have our conversations. Now, to the end, obviously, feel free to get into the chat. I absolutely love our chat. For those of you who are always here, as we know, the only thing that we will say is that you can pretty much say what you like, go on a tangent. You can tell me that I'm wrong. I love different opinions to mine, but I'll obviously always be respectful to each other, and just be respectful in our opinions. And you can pretty much come in and say what you like. So today's show. So yesterday was a pretty big one. Loads of reports now. Yesterday coming out, and the day before, and I think the last couple of weeks. Chesco, I think, is on the agenda now. This is going to ramp up. Fabrizio Romano, who is, whether we like it or not, or whether you like it or not, is, he is the GOAT, and he does get stuff. So we can kind of look at that and talk about that and pick the bones off of that. Overnight, we can talk about so Laurie Whitwell of the Athletic. Now, I can't remember who said this in the chat yesterday, and they're quite rightly so, who come in and was talking about this yesterday. So Whitwell of the Athletic has come in overnight, and I think the person in the chat, welcome, fantastic in the chat as well, basically saying about how Whitwell says that we're not in the race, or we're not going to get it. Now, overnight, Whitwell has come out and said his couple of points. He's basically said that United are happy with the signings that we've got, so they are patting themselves on the back, as it appears, and are happy with the two signings that they've got, and they may or may not do business when they come back from the American tours. So it's not written on stone. So Whitwell, to be fair to him, he does get stuff from the club that we can't say that he doesn't, but he does, in my opinion, get it slightly after the event. Now, this is coming overnight. Now, what were we talking on here, and what did we say on here? And we said this last week. Now, Laurie's words, I'm not going to disagree with those, but we did say this. Do not miss this, and I think people have missed this, and people do have short minds. David Ornstein, who definitely gets things from the club, 100% is a GOAT. Last week on his podcast said the exact same thing. Ornstein last week, and we reported it on here, and we spoke about it in depth, was that Ornstein in his podcast said that United are pretty much happy with what they've done, and they may not, and any transfers that they don't get in this window, that they will get in the next window. The January window that we never normally do business in. This has already been put out there. So this is already out there. So Whitwell has come out and said this overnight. And obviously people are picking this up now, the things that he said. But this was already said by Ornstein last week. The club has already briefed Ornstein, and Whitwell was now picking the bones off of this. And this is not against him, but he's picking the bones of this. We said it on here last week. I've been saying this about this last week, and people have missed it, and people are now picking it up as if they own this. This has already been said. Ornstein last week come out and said that United are happy with what they've done, and any business. And I think to paraphrase him, Ornstein basically said that United are happy because other clubs haven't quite done the business yet, and we're happy, and we may not do anything else, and we may push some of the transfers back because we may not be in a position to get all of our deals done. So Bobby's in the chat, legend of the chat. Good morning, my friend. So Ornstein's already said this, and everyone else is now picking this up, but we've already said this. This was already said by Ornstein. So I'm not concerned by that at all. The club has already been putting it out there, and as we've already spoken about with this club, because we've seen it time and time again, is spin. And we've been saying this: beware of the spin about all these players apparently going to come to us, and it's just spin. Okay, so well, in my opinion, again, he's just putting it out there, what's already been put out there. Now, United, again, according to him, are out there, and as per what we've already spoken about as well, is that stadium. So the stadium is obviously in the forefront. And what are we doing? What are the executives doing? Sepco, Wilcox, etc. Omar is out there, and of course, paper spin. Exactly. What are they doing out there? They're drumming up business, and this is what this American tour is about. So they're trying to drum up business for the stadium. So they're out there trying to get sponsorship, trying to do what they do best, and go out there. The marketing machine is out there. Now, I'm not necessarily against. That's what businesses do. That's what companies do. But it terrifies me the fact that they're going to get as many investors as they possibly can to jump on board with this regeneration stuff. And the longer this pushes on, my fear is that it's actually going to happen. And then, of course, we're not going to be able to get these Glazers and Ineos out. And it just goes to show that they don't have the money or the funds to do this. So, there is still hope. I do believe that there's still hope that we can get these people out. But, there's too much. So much noise, there's so many plates involved, and there's just too much money for people to be made. Like Sebco's going to make a load of money, Neville's going to make a ton of money, the hangers on, the legends of the club, they're all on board, and their first instinct is not to save this club but to destroy this club. So that again, we can circle back to that unless someone else comes in on that. So 48 hours to get Chesco. Now, where has this all come from? Now, again, outlets this morning are reporting it. There's so many people out there reporting this. Now, Romano over the weekend, and this has come from him, and he's in the know, and he is close to the club, and he gets so many bits and pieces from the club. Again, this has been touted like this has only come out now, and we did speak about this yesterday. I am still of the opinion that we are in talks with Chesco's camp because we want to know the price involved. Now, Newcastle have obviously entered this race and come in here. Now, Fabrizio has already said that the next 5 to 7 days. Sorry, the next 3 to 7 days. That Chesco is going to move. Whether we like this or not, Isaac is going to go to Liverpool. I think that is nailed on. Unless it absolutely collapses and something is an impassable issue, Isaac is going to go to Liverpool. So that means that Newcastle are going to have funds to do a deal. Now, the only high Newcastle needs to do to appease their fans as well, because they've got fans. They're a big club. They're a huge club. They are a massive club. They need a statement signing. So if Isco goes, Chesco is the next big thing. He's 22, he's young, he definitely fits that mould, he definitely fits that look. Arsenal were looking at him, we've been in talks as well. So, I think that he's the logical replacement for him. So now they've come in with a wad of cash, and Romano, this is why Romano has said, and this is what I'm fully in the belief that we are in for this deal. Well, we're in for this deal, not officially. Now, yesterday, I think I said or alluded to that we had a free run at Chesco. In a roundabout way, we do, because Chesco has already come out and said that he would prefer a move to us than to go to Newcastle. Okay, obviously, if anything changes on that, if that stance changes, then we know that Newcastle have definitely moved in front of us for that deal. But as it stands right now, the deal is there for us to do. If we go in and we lay down the money and say, look, this is a deal that we want to do, we will get him. And that's not that's come from the player's agent, that's come from the player, that's come from outlets, that's come from it's industry wide known that Chesco would prefer a move to United than a Newcastle move. That's just how it is. However, United now have a unique opportunity. Suppose says United must have spoken to Chesco for him to come out and say he wants exactly. We have inroads into Leipzig. Vavel, he has connections inside. He's clearly spoken to the player. We've 100% spoken to the player. Officially, people are going to come out and say no, but we have spoken to the player. I think this has been established. This has been established in the German tier ones. We obviously we can't officially say that we've approached the player, but we have spoken to this player. Otherwise, why would he come out and say it? So we've been tracking this player. We've come out too many times. We've got inroads to him. We've spoken to this player. Okay. It's whether or not now we're going to make this move. Ollie Watkins, depending on what your preference is for a player, you may be of the opinion that Watkins is the better, more Premier League proven player. But for me, straight off, and I should tell you for why Chesco financially makes utter sense. Please support the channel by smashing the like and subscribe. Thank you, Bobby. Yeah, that always helps. Just a quick like. It's free. Really does help us out. Really, coming to the chat. I will always say this. I will not dictate as much as I can what brings into the chat, as long as we are respectful. And it's just, this is a place to come. I will literally go through your chats. Like I spend more time going through the chats, because this is where the conversation needs to happen. We are fans. It's really important for us to come to a place and be able to have our opinions in the chat. It doesn't matter how mad they are. I think it's really important for us to debate these points out, because you may inspire other people, you may reinforce other people's opinions, but I think it's really important to get these things out there. So it's whether or not United have that appetite to. Now, so Aston Villa are not going to lower their price. Watkins, 60 million. But is it a coincidence that Chelsea, Liverpool, and co spend 100 mil on younger players? The value is there. Worst case scenario with these players, in my opinion, you've got three options here, right? So say you spend 70 million to 100 million on a 21, 22-year-old player. Potentially, you're going to have that play for 10 years plus. So if you spread that 100 million over a 10 to 12-year period, it's less than £10 million a year. Okay, and if he's in your team for those 10 years, then that's a good player, right? So you're not necessarily going to lose out there. The value is there with that player. Or the player does extremely well. You have him for 5-6 years, and then you sell him on to another club. You may equally get your money back. So you would have paid off that player. So you think about this. You spread that deal with the selling club over 5-6 years, or say 4 years. After 4 years, you've paid him off. Then if you sell that same player either at more, which you probably would do, or equal price, then you're going to get all that money back, but you've essentially rented that player, not spend a penny other than the wages on him, and you're going to get that money back. So, or he completely flops, right? So that is an option as well. But out of a percentage wise, in my opinion, if you're going to split those three options, you got 66.6% that actually the benefit will come back to the club. So I actually think that the value is there, signing these younger players who are obviously potentially have to be good for 70 to like 100 million. It makes complete sense. So in terms of a deal, United should be all over this. It's more of a value to spend 65 to 70 million on a Chesco who's not a proven player, rather than 60 million on a more Premier League proven striker at 29 years old, because there is no value there. So United need to be all over this deal now. And this is not Rocky Chesco news. Yeah, Chesco news, Rocky, is that, so to sum it up, Chesco is going to move. Chesco wants to come to us. Newcastle, whether we like it or not, Isak is going to go to Liverpool. So they're going to have that money, and they need a statement signing. That's just fact. In fact, we need that as well. Chesco is the only other statement that they can make, but Chesco doesn't want to go to them. However, if United do not, and as has been reported by Fabrizio, in the next 3 to 7 days, this is going to escalate. Yes, it will be a bidding war. Navang says, I pray everything works well. Me too, my friend. I hope you're doing really, really well today. If United do not make their move, and I believe we've been in talks with him, we can come out after the event and you can have your opinion and say, no, we've been nowhere near this player. We have inroads into Leipzig. We are in for this player. But it's whether or not we make an official move. We essentially have a clear run. Newcastle will put the money down. They can make a move and they can push for this player 100%. But it's a bit like Gyökeres. We wanted him, even though apparently we never made a move. We did make a move. He wanted to go to the Gunners. Arsenal made the move and he went for them. We need to make that move. He wants to come. It's almost a free run at this player, but it's whether or not we've had talks. He's going to move. It's whether or not now we make our move in the next 48 hours, probably 24, because the moment that Newcastle submit that bid, that's when we need to make our move. Now, this will tell you everything that you need to know about this club. The only way Chesco goes to Newcastle is if we don't put it in a bid. And if we don't put in that bid to get this player, then that's going to tell you everything about our season, everything that we're going to do, everything that we are. Why would we not go and get this player? And I totally respect if you're not on board with this and you don't rate the player. Some people don't rate this player. You know, there's no coincidence that Arsenal, he was Arsenal's number one striker target, 100%. They tracked him. We've tracked this player for a long time as well. Arsenal have obviously gone and got a good deal. Gyökeres, they've gone and got him, but Chesco was their number one choice. And there's no point in, Arsenal fans can come out and say that it's not true, but it is true. Berta lined up both players on the basis he wanted to get the Chesco price down. Leipzig were not prepared to bring the price down, so they pivoted. And that's the reason why they didn't go for Chesco, because the price was too high. Now, conversely, the price now could be set to come down because Leipzig, I believe, probably do need the money, or they want to get a new player in. And Chesco wants the move. So we're at an impasse right now, whereby United also need a striker, and let's pivot to the West Ham game. I don't know if we've seen the West Ham game. I don't know how many of us watched the West Ham game and formed an opinions on that, or whether you watched highlights, or whether you listened to the paper talk, or whether you listened to what's been coming out from various places. But my opinion on watching the game and rooting for Højlund, the last couple of games, I've been wanting to see him and rooting for him to do well. Prefix this all with his pre-season, because I have to be logical and fair, but Højlund is just not the guy. And I think Amorim can clearly say that. He's already come out and said that there's going to be pain and there will be pain around this position. But Højlund is not the guy. If Højlund stays, wants to be backup striker, then that's fine with me. I think Obi will benefit from having more experienced strikers around him. Those of you clambering for Obi to play, I like the kid. I think he's got some potential, but he's not ready to play, and I don't want to burn him. I think it'd be so unfair. I think it'd be even unfair to have him as the second striker. I don't necessarily want him to go out on loan, but I just don't think the value for him and the impact on him could be so vast. I suppose I hope you sign Chesco and he bags 30 goals for us. Exactly. And is there a potential to do that? I think there is. Ultimately, we can only, as fans, demand, and as a club, demand best in class. The victors have gone. I would rather have an Osherman or a Gyökeres deal. Those two, for me, were my number ones. And then Ekitike, for me, people are going to say he's number 3. Not for me. He was never on my list. And when you look down, potentially like a Kane, but Kane doesn't fit the system. He's not for me. Šeško for me was probably like my number 3. And if the best you can get is a Šeško, then you've got to go for Šeško. He's 22 years old. People have their opinions on players. Okay, they will say that I don't like Šeško, so I'm going to push. Plays. Good morning. If only that was my name, eh? But I love it. So if only that were true, right? So people will have a choice and say they wanted like an Osherman, and then they'll say every other striker's rubbish. They've had a really bad season and they're crap, etc., etc. Or you can go, look, we've not got a first choice. I don't necessarily want Chesco. So Glinios are snoozing while a hot prospect is available. Exactly, right? It's literally like going to a bar and there's a girl there and she's hot, right? She's absolutely hot. She's looking at you. She is like basically, she's got the eyes. She's staring at you, and you're like, I can't believe it. I'm in my shorts and t-shirt, but she's begging. And then you've got this other guy. He's all right, and she would say yeah, but you're like her preferred choice. He's staring at her. He's trying to do everything he can to pick her up, and you're just basically just staring into your beer, and and it's there to be done, and she wants you. And Ineos, I don't think they're snoozing. I genuinely believe that they either think they've done business super well and don't think they need a striker, or the money isn't the money really isn't there. And I both options are terrifying. I know we do need the money, but we can find the money. But is it they're so blinkered? And it goes hand in hand in what Whitwell come out with, is that United are happy with the business that they've done, and they may wait until they come back from the tour. We've never done business on tour. We're so bad at doing business on tour. That's come out today, but that's been reiterated from what Ornstein said later in the week, that we've said on here the whole way through. That we've said. Ornstein's already said this, that United are not prioritising, it doesn't seem to be, a striker, which we absolutely need. Chill at play, and we end up with her fridge of a friend for snoozing. Her name being Lewin. So Derek Welcome says, "What's your impression on Mbeumo?" Now, he didn't play, so sadly, I can't have an impression on him. I mean, my impression from the Brentwood days are fantastic, but he didn't play, and frustratingly, and again, this you're going to get me on my soapbox. Mbeumo, for me, I think it's a disgrace and disgusting that he didn't play. Now, not because I want him to play at any cost, because that's not what I'm saying here. I can't wait to see this player in shirt and to see what he can do. But the fact we took so long to sign him, we paid all this money, the excitement of the fans wanting to see him play, and he can't play because he's not fit enough to play. I mean, it gets, at this point, it gets a joke. You know, I know we were a laughing stock anyway, but at this point, we almost become a meme that we sign a player for 65 million. Don't you think we need a midfielder like Belba, Morton as a striker? I agree with the player. That's a camera 24. I agree with the player. We do need a centre midfielder, and I demand a centre midfield player. I'm not going to say that we don't, right? But, as Tulip has come back and said there, I think that we can, I don't want to, but I demand a centre midfielder, but we need a striker more. I can't, after the Leeds game, yes, and then opinions can sway, we still need one, but we desperately need a striker. We need two. I'd argue we need two strikers. The positions that we need more than anything else are a goalkeeper and a striker. We need a striker more than anything else. We cannot make do with Højlund, Xerxes potentially putting in a square peg into like a round hole again up front. Obi is not the answer. We need a striker 100%. So I don't disagree with the comment, and I think that's a valid one. As camera, again, I don't disagree with that, and I don't disagree with the player. But we are quite stacked in the midfield, and I do think we've got enough players that can get us through the season. Even though I demand a centre midfielder because I think that we need one. We're so stacked with the amount of games that we've got to play. I think we can sort of muddle along there. But up front, we can't. We cannot. Højlund, we cannot go into a season with Højlund, Xerxes maybe, another shoehorn player in, and OB. Højlund, Højlund is just not it. Højlund is just not it. I like the player so much. I think he's a good guy. I want him to do well. I really do. Even if he stayed and we got another striker, then I'm fine with that. But we need a striker, my friend. I can't express, just even things like movement in the box, the runs that are made. He's played, and this will be his third season. If you can't pick up things like that now already, even if his confidence is low, it shouldn't be. He works hard, and I really like the player, but he just doesn't do it. He doesn't make those runs, and I think he either needs to learn elsewhere, or need to bring in somebody that he can play with and learn from, and have some competition in there. Because I just think he needs some. I just don't even know if he's going to be that guy. Sabelba will cost our entire. Exactly. I like the player, and I think that's a next summer. That's an ambitious club. That's an ambitious club with money signing. Okay, I do agree that. But if we are going to get a midfield right now, as Tulip says, and I think we pretty much agree on that. I think for me, Chesco, Lemens, and Louise would do. Louise on loan, I think for me, then I'll be happier with that squad. Højlund is Lukaku minus all the goals. I'd even debate that Lukaku's better, mate. I wouldn't. Højlund for me is. I just don't know yet. He's still so young. You know, he striker is one of those funny positions whereby you could not be great, and then suddenly you go to the best to a team, and then suddenly you become an absolute animal. Gyökeres is almost a copy. Is an example of that, really. If you think about it, it's only really been in the last 2 seasons, potentially 3, that he's started to come good. You know, he never really had like, you know, an amazing club. You know, he didn't really do it at Coventry, I don't think, or Brighton. So there is potential for him, but I think he needs that move. I think he needs that move away to maybe a Championship club, to a different club, learn his craft, and then maybe when he hits 27, he will be. It wouldn't surprise me if he becomes that player. So Derek says, I agree with you on the striker options. A good striker is at most importance for this season. No, it is. I think with a Chesco, a goalkeeper, I think we then compete. We then compete for potentially top 5, 6 without a striker. You know, if Newcastle get a Chesco, and bearing in mind, we as fans, and many people come on here and talk about how they want to get 4th and they want to get 5th. And I've said it myself, you know, many of us want to get 4th. 4th, I don't think is an option, but 5th, 6th, you know, 8th. We are fighting Newcastle for those positions. If Newcastle get Chesco, this is what the club doesn't quite get. They're trying to get up this league. If you let a rival, and Newcastle, let's be fair, and there's no disrespects to them at all, we should be competing, at least competing and beating these clubs for players. And Chesco, we can beat them to a player. If we let him go, then we've basically we have consigned ourselves. We have consigned ourselves. No, but is that on purpose? Is that the hierarchy and the board don't actually know what they're doing? Which I don't believe that they do know what they're doing. That they're so naive and blinkered to believe that Amorim can do something with this team with 2 players, or is it they simply just don't want to spend money? Combination of both, and it is terrifying. So Chesco for me is there to be done. He wants to come to us. It's there to be done. And whether we like this or not, we don't have time to waste on this deal. If it's not coming out in the next day, 2-3 days, but we're now in concrete talks, then I think that we'll move on from this player, and we will regret it deeply. We will regret not signing this player and doing this deal. Even from a financial standpoint, I know the outlays a lot, but he's 20. He's just turned on May the 31st. He turned 22. Potentially a 10-year striker with sell-on after 4 or 5 years. You would do this deal. It makes total financial sense. And as a business and as a businessman, Sir Jim should be all over this. And if he's not, and I really think it tells you everything that you need to know. What I dislike is a lot of fans getting scared about Haaland and don't want young strikers like a Chesco anymore. For Haaland, there's a Haaland for every. Exactly. And do you know what? You summed it up there. Exactly. Isaac, I think, was at Sociedad, I think. And, you know, he was doing quite well. Like he wasn't sticking in the numbers, but you can just tell. You just know. You just absolutely know when you see a player. And I think Chesco, for me, is that player. When I watched Højlund play for Atalanta, don't get me wrong, like he looked alright, but I never thought he was that striker guy. And I got on board with it, but I was never blown away. But Chesco, if you watch him, his feet, how he moves, even his attitude. Like I think he does have that potential. My percentage-wise is a lot higher than the risk. Is that he could be a Isaac. Haaland, is he the Haaland? No, because Haaland's Haaland. But do we need a Haaland? And that's the thing. That Haaland is an out-and-out striker, an out-and-out beast. For how we want to play, do we need that probably not. We need someone who can bring people into play. Because Chesco as well, he can almost play behind the striker, so he's quite a versatile front man as well. So I think he's got everything we need. I think the attributes are there, and the deal is there to be done. And if we don't do this deal, we basically have a free run at this deal. It's not going to be cheap, but it's also not going to be ridiculously expensive. I think we can get this comparable done to the Chesco, to the Gyökeres deal. Ekitike deal was 74? I don't know. I don't think it'll be around that price. But we've got to get this done. So we're in talks with him. We have been speaking to Chesco. It's whether or not we get this signed off. Now, to go hand in hand with that, Anthony deal. So Damien06 says, yes, we are a new channel. I say new. We've been going now for about, I don't know, is it a month, 6 weeks? Been very, very lucky. You are welcome here. Of course you are. Get your opinions in. You know, we are starting to grow on here as well, thanks to you amazing people. And I'm very, very lucky. I'm very, very fortunate to have the people on here as well. So again, a good chance to say thank you. We just we overnight got 5,000 subscribers, which is unbelievable. I'm just going to check now. So just over 5,000, which is unbelievable. Really, it's more than I sort of hoped for. And yeah, so feel free to get involved. Give us a like, follow, share, subscribe. Let's get this channel where it deserves to be, for you in the chat, for us. I want to make this community as big as it can be. And yeah, let's keep pushing this. Chips Play says, if Glinios let Chesco go to the Toon and end up with DCL, we right, mate. I'll be first. I'll be behind you. In fact, I'll be next to you. I will hold up a placard. If we let Chesco go, and I think if you've watched this channel now for a while, I think I've been saying this since day one. Dominic Calvert-Lewin for me is the one. Is when he goes, if he goes to somebody, then I will rejoice that, because I've been of an opinion that he is one of the players that is going to come to us. I think they've been taking our temperature for quite some time on this to see if they could get away with that deal, and I'm still convinced that Sir Jim loved the player. There was talk of us trying to get him last season, and if that is the case, then and we let Chesco go to the Toon, I wouldn't want to be responsible for people's action, and I'm not condoning going on a riot. I'm not condoning these things, but I do condone people talking about this. I do condone legitimate and legal action on this, because that would be an absolute stain on this club and a stain on this fan base. So Temiscan, a legend in the chat as well, says, we welcome Chesco, Carlos Sabelba. What else is there? So Donnarumma, yeah, there's a rumour around that. So Donnarumma, there's a rumour that he's not going to sign a new PSG contract. Man City and United are apparently in there. He'd be a fantastic goalkeeper for us, but that's a ploy. I do believe that's a contract negotiation talk thing there that I think both sides, PSG and him, they're just trying to do a deal. I mean, if there was a realistic opportunity to go get him, then I would, but I just don't think that's going to happen. So Belba, again, I think he'd be expensive. I like the player. I think he would definitely add a lot to the club. I think, as a signing, I think that's a Chelsea sort of signing. I'd love to do that, but let's see. Yeah. Temishkin, I absolutely love. So legend of the chat, and I love how he puts his plays in every day. I look forward to that. And as always, some fantastic names in there said. So Damien G6 says, cool, subscribe and we'll share with my mates. Stay true, mate, not like some of the others. Damien, honestly, I really appreciate that. To hear that is just fantastic, and I really do appreciate that. Feel free to bring them along. Come into the chat. I'll always try to read out chats. I really try not to stifle anyone's opinions. You may not agree with me, I may not agree with you, but I think it's really important for you to get your opinion across. It may impact my opinions, it may make me think about the things that I do, and I think it's definitely the spice of life to have different opinions. Tulip play, Anthony's been sold for quite a bit, so money is no excuse. 60 mil for Chesco is a fair price. I agree with you. Anthony going. United almost are in a predicament now, aren't they? It's almost a bit like when they were forced to paying the money to Brentford, right? They negotiated this deal for the player for far too long because they thought they were going to get a good deal, but in the end they knew they had to pay it. Okay, they need a striker. Newcastle are now going to sell Isaac for a load of money. Newcastle got cash on the hip to spend. They're going to go for Chesco. United been talking to Chesco. They need a striker, and everybody knows that Anthony is gonna. I think he will go, and he'll get sold. So they know they've got money. Okay, I know they still have to pay the player off and a book loss or whatever, but they do have money. So are they almost forced into going for this player? And this is what I'm hoping for: is that they're going to be forced to make a bid for Chesco and go for Chesco. They're going to be forced into this. If they're not, then and they pivot, and there is another option that we can talk about as well. It's not for me, but the noise around it is starting to come out a little bit more. I said JB, it's pronounced. Thank you. My pronunciations of names is terrible, as you can tell. But so it's Balaba. I get ya. Yeah, cool. Thank you for that. Cam24 says, what I meant is on the striker side, it's always going to be a risk, whether it's Chesco or Watkins on the money side and age side, but we spent our finances on someone proven and helpful. I don't disagree. I don't disagree. But if Bauer, I can't even bloody say it myself. Anyway, if the Brighton midfield player was a striker, then 100%. But we need a striker, and your logic makes complete sense, right? It absolutely makes complete sense. It is a risk. And Premier League proven at that age and that position makes total sense. If we were a Liverpool, and if we were logically, I agree with you. I think you 100% make sense, and I wish the club would listen to people like you, Carlos. Perfect. I'm loving it. It's Carlos B, right? So Carlos B makes complete sense, right? I agree, and I think many people in this chat agree. I agree. I love the player. I like the player completely. Okay, I would go for him as well if it was no object, 100%. But looking at the club and what we will do, your logic makes sense, and I wish the club would talk to more people from this chat and in this chat and get those opinions because it makes logical sense. But reality then bites and we go, that logic makes sense. But if we were at Liverpool, as they've proven, a City, a Chelsea, they would go do that deal as well as this deal. But we're not going to do that. And that's the most frustrating and thing that as fans, this fan base keeps being spun around and names like that kept bandied around because it gets our hopes up for these players. Any progressive, any club who's serious about coming forth, any serious club who have said, and you can quote Omar on this, we are Project 2028 looking to win the league by 2028. You win the league 2028 by signing players like that, by midfielders the same as that, right? Not by, as much as Luis is a welcome signing from Juventus, and as much as he would add value, those are the signings of, and especially on loan, those are the signings of a Villa. I know he used to play for them, but those are the signings of a club who wants to get close to that fourth, who's trying to get into that fourth or fifth position. That's not a signing of a club that wants to win. And we can quote Omar on this. We can quote the club on this. They want to win the league by 2028. Those are not the signings that you get to win the league. Isak is a signing that you go to win the league. Chesco, I'd even argue, is not a signing that you would go and get to win the league. Haaland is a signing that you would go and get to win the league. We're not making signings to go and win leagues. We're making signings to keep us relevant or in and around that 5th to 10th. And that's what we're doing. So Damien says, I think we get another couple of signings in once we offload Sancho and Garnacho. I think Anthony does help us as well. So I think Chesco, Anthony has come at the right time. Newcastle has come as well at round about the right time. And Chesco, we need to do that deal. Garnacho and Sancho, I think, are pivotal for us to sign. Garnacho is waiting for a Chelsea move, I believe. I think he's waiting until the end of the window because he wants his price dropped so he can go and get his move. And the danger there is you almost need to. I can see him going off on loan. Anthony, with this deal, I think that gives us options. Sancho, I mean, Sancho for me is going to be not necessarily a book gain, but he's going to be a wages off of the books gain. So like the Rashford deal, that frees up some money. So with the wages saved, we're not going to see it this season, of course, but with that not as an expense, Rashford and Anthony being sold, I believe that we can get a Chesco deal done and some other deals done. The problem for me, and again, and this is what I'm always going to say this, is that let's be careful of this spin around selling players. We do need to sell players, but let's not be spun around too much by, if we wanted to get this deal done, I think we could pure profit, so 300 mil of spending power. Tulip, exactly that, right? It's exactly that. And that's the PSR myth, right? That's the PSR myth as well, right? Is that we are for PSR, for all that side of things, we're absolutely fine. We come nowhere near PSR. We come nowhere near the limits because of what we do with our books. We are nowhere near. So Tinsu Ethiopia, how you doing, my friend? Another legend of the chat. I'm doing really well and hope you are doing really well as well. I'll come back to your chat in a second. Back up a little bit. Camera says, what are we talking about? Yeah, I agree with that. And get this season by Cunha and Mbeumo, and Cunha and Mbeumo as our number 9. It's an interesting take there. I've heard that, and I've suspected that a bit. If we don't get a number 9. And throughout all this, I'm bloody demanding a number 9, by the way. I think this is definitely the thing that we need. Is that I've had a suspicion, and Camera there, you've kind of hit my suspicion on the head there. Is that Cunha, watching Cunha play, he's not a number 9, and I wouldn't want him as a number 9. So Mbeumo, on the other hand, is a different story. I don't think he is a number 9. He's predominantly plays from the left and comes inside and he brings people in. But of all the players marked for me as a what the club would do to be cheap instead of buying a number 9 is that's what they would do. Mbeumo as a 9, play Bruno in that number 10, and then they almost want to play like Arsenal did, right? Arsenal didn't have a recognised striker, really. Jesus, yeah, he is a striker, but he was injured. They didn't really have a striker, and I think they put Havertz up there. If they want to be cheap, it's almost that's what they're going to do. I can almost see them using those Mbeumo, Xerxes, Højlund as an interchanging Cunha as almost an interchanging number 9 front 3. But the moment that we do that, again, we are as a club, we're I don't recognise us as a club. I respect the comment, and again, as I say, I think Camera 24, I think that's one of my suspicions as well. But I reiterate this, that we need a number 9. We can't. You may be right. My suspicion may be right, even though I don't agree with it. But I will defend that we would 100%. We definitely need a number 9. Let's go back through the chat. I still think we get another couple of signings. I really hope, Damien. I really hope we do, my friend. If we won that game in the final, or Fernandes was sold, we'd have had Gyökeres, Delap, Carlos B, Mbeumo, Cunha, all by now. One game. Exactly. And you hit the nail there. Again, this is why this chat hits every time. And this is why fan opinion is so important. And listening to chats the same as this is so important. Because you hit the nail on the head. We played a Spurs team who didn't have their best players. And this is no disrespect to Spurs. They still won the game. They were terrible. They were awful. They scored early doors as well. We had nothing. We had absolutely nothing. And we lost that game. Now, who you can put that down to? You can put that down to, as many people as you want. That time has been and gone. But that game could be, and obviously I wasn't on here at the time, but I said at the time to friends that may come back and haunt us. And it gives the club perfect excuse and spin now whatever that they want to spin. We then had an opportunity for Fernandes to be sold. Now you can, and I don't think we've not really discussed Fernandes that much on here actually, but I would like to know your views on Fernandes. It'd be interesting to get that kind of for the season as well. Now I'm of the opinion that Fernandes should have been sold. And my reasoning for that is I think we needed a fresh start. I think we needed a fresh team. We needed a new leader. Cunha for me or De Ligt would have been the obvious for me. You may have your different opinions on that. But we needed Fernandes to go. I wanted Fernandes to go. I wanted that clean slate. I wanted to use that money for players. Now, conversely, as it transpired, the hierarchy said we didn't need the money. I'll just leave that for a second. We could have got 130 million to 150 million for him. I know it was like 100 million, but they would have paid whatever. Fernandes didn't go because ultimately, at the end of the day, we asked him to stay. So we clearly didn't need the money. Okay, so he stayed. It would have freed up a position as well, and I think it would have unshackled the team, but we didn't do it. Okay, so therefore, if we don't do that, then we don't need the money. That's logic for me, means that we don't need the money. So I don't get why Amorim didn't want him to go. And I truly believe it's an Amorim choice, and I think Amorim's going to live and die on that decision with Fernandes. Fernandes is in the team. I will support him, as he's proved the other nights. He's still very divisive. For me, I don't think he played particularly well. If you look at all the papers and all the talk, amazing, Fernandes this, Fernandes that. I didn't think he was amazing. I thought he had an average game. I thought some of his decisions were poor. Some of his passing was poor. He still likes to shoot from 25 yards. But what he does do is he gives you goals. And Bruno is a stat padder. I've always said this. He's very good. He shoots so many times. He's bound, and he's got a good shot. So he's bound to score some goals, right? But for me, he's a divisive player, but I'll still support that player. But there was an opportunity there. Anything new today? So Tensu, for you, just to sort of, the main theme today is Chesco. We are in talks with Chesco, as we said yesterday. I do think we're in for this player. But what has come out overnight is Whitwell, for the Athletic, who does get stuff from the club, has basically said that we're happy with the signings and we may not sign other players just yet, or until we come back from the tour. I think this is in response to the Chesco stuff. However, Ornstein, and we said it on here, Ornstein has reported this last week. I have said people are going to miss this. People are not going to listen to it. Ornstein gets stuff from the club all the time because he is their mouthpiece and he's got to do some PR for them. He's already said, United, and we've spoken about this, that he has said United think they've done good business already and they may not get all targets now. They may go for the next window, and as we all know, that window, we never do business in that window. Okay, Chesco, Newcastle are going to get money from Isaac, a lot of money, so they're going to go off. So we've got pretty much 48 hours, and Romano has reported this as well. We've got 48 hours basically to make this an official bid. We've got a clear run at him. Chesco wants to come to us, and if we put in that bid, we will get that player. It's as simple as that. Now, Anthony, to the side of that, our Nasser, there's a bid from them as well for Anthony, I think for around 45 to 55 million. If we get that deal done, we can go and get Chesco. And that's sort of a really whistle-stop tour kind of sort of where we are with that. Chilip says, if we sell Anthony for 45 and Garner for 55, that's 100 straight there. Chesco, Lemons and Luis, who can we swap Sancho for? A bag of crisps. That's a good point there. Chilip says, Cunha likes the ball to his feet and drops deep. And Bermamix runs behind, so 2, he's more than number 9. These fools need to buy a legit striker like Sesko. Exactly. Can't believe we're not more linked to Mateta. He'd be a cheaper option in his prime at 28. He scored 30 goals with no service over the last 2 seasons and has no ego. Mateta, I like Mateta. If it was Mateta, or if it wasn't a Chesco or a Watkins, Mateta is where I'd go next. And it's not a disservice to him. He's where I would go as well. I like the player, and as you say there, like Crystal Palace, again they're one of those teams that they bring through a crop of players and they do well, as they've shown. And Mateta, for me, I like the player a lot. I think as an option. 20, I can't remember if he's got 2 years left on his deal or not, but Mateta is somewhere that I would go as well. So I think that if we don't go for a Chesco, I think all options are then on the table, and I think we need to worry. I do. I think we need to worry then, because I don't think our club are smart enough to go for like a Mateta or one of those signings. I just don't think they are. Damien says, the best thing we have seen from the manager so far has been the absolute no-nonsense approach to player power. Yes. I agree with that mostly. I think you're right. That's what we needed. We needed that. Look, get out of my club. I don't want you to play anymore. I don't care who you are. I don't care what your stature is. And I think from that perspective, he's done fantastically well. Where I think there's a red flag slightly for me, where maybe he doesn't understand total impact potentially in the Premier League on these brands of players, is the damage he has done. I can't just blame him completely, but when you devalue players, then that for me, it's not necessarily a red flag. Is it a naive thing? Amarin, at the end of the day, is still young. He's still a young guy coming to a big club, so you can tell there's inexperience there. I do like that approach. I really do. In Portugal, I think it works easier because the media there is in terms of global visibility on that league, and the media is lower than what it is here. And maybe he doesn't quite get that. I admire he's trying to stay true to himself. But when you devalue assets, as a club, we need to sell players. I think when you devalue players like that, because the club has let you, and I also blame the club for this as well, which is really stupid, that you need these players to sell to bring you in cash, but yet you let a manager with limited experience speak his mind and devalue those players. So I think there's a bit of naivety around that, and just the way that was managed. You know, you've devalued some players, and as it transpires, you know, they either, we can't get the money for them, so the Garnachos of this world should be worth 55 to 60 million, but because of that falling out, and it's recognised that it is, you devalue that player. So I do agree with that. I think the baseline opinion, I completely agree with that. I just think that as the club, it hasn't been handled well, and we've devalued those players. So I think it's almost a perfect storm, really. But I agree. I think the best thing he's done so far is kick those players out. I just think it could have been done in a slightly different and probably more private way, but it is what it is, right? Chip says, congrats to the England Lionesses too. Yeah, they should. The men have to get into the finals back to back. No, they did really well. I did actually watch the final. The reason why I didn't necessarily bring it into the show straight away is because I'm not English. I'm Welsh, so I don't necessarily support everything to do with England. I don't mind the England team, but ultimately I am Welsh. But congratulations, because at the end of the day, you know, the men's team does get a lot of praise for not doing a lot. So the women who didn't start the tournament off particularly well came back and won, and you know, they could show a lot of the men's teams, particularly our men's team, how to get things over the line, and a tip on perseverance as well. So well done to them in our and back to back as well. So just an amazing achievement to them. So fantastic. Adiemi, no, let me go back. So Rambo says, afternoon, United fans, hope we're all well. Rambo Walters, again, as I've said to you in the past, I love your name. Hope you're doing well. Are we only going for Chesco? I hope so. I really do. Ademi says we need Carlos B and Chesco. We can't rely on Bruno to do everything again this season. Yeah, Carlos B, I don't think is an option. I may be wrong on this one, but sadly, I know as a fan base we're all shouting out for him, but Carlos B is not coming. I just can't see it, my friend. I'd love to be wrong. Bruno doesn't need to do everything on the pitch. As a fan base, he's here, so I think we do need to support him, but we also just can't support him on the basis that he stayed. The only reason why Bruno is here, let's be clear on this one, There's two reasons why Fernandes is here. Number one, we didn't want to sell the player, and number two, there's not a European club interested in him. If a Bayern or a Barcelona or a Madrid or another club of that ilk, Fernandes would go. He's not here because he loves the club. He does love the club, but he's not here just because he didn't want to go because he loves the club so much. He's not here because Amorim begged him to stay and there's not a European club out there. Otherwise, he wouldn't be here. Chillet Play says, yeah. Cards B is 120. Well, then we go... Edison, again. Is Chesco coming or not? Says Ochku FC online. Is Chesco coming or not? That's a question that I can't answer, my friend. He should be coming. So Danny B's in the chat. Good morning, pal. Popping in to say hello. Hello to Danny B, legend of the chat. I hope you're doing really well. Is Chesco coming or not? That's a good question. What I can say, and I'll say this with conviction, is that we are in talks with him. We have inroads into Chesco. We've been tracking him for 3-4 years. But it's whether or not we want to financially commit to do that deal. That is where we are on it. Newcastle are going to get cash on the hit from Isaac. And they're going to go after Chesco. They're going to put in a bid. I think it's established. Romano has come out and already said this already. What Chesco is going to move in the next 3 to 7 days. That was yesterday. So I think it's in the next day to 6 days that Chesco is going to move. Whatever happens, the transfer around him is going to move. We have been in talks with this player. Anthony is going to be sold. I think he'll be sold to Saudi. We'll get 45 to 50 million for that player. And then it's whether or not, as a club, that we decide that we're going to go, not as fans, if the hierarchy are prepared to commit to that signing. Newcastle are going to make a bid, and a significant bid. It's whether or not we're going to match this bid. Chesco wants to come to us. That's already been established. He said by the player. We've unofficially or allegedly, or I'm going to allege that we've been in his ear. Whether that's true or not, that will come out in time. But we essentially have a free run at Chesco. It's whether or not as a club we have that appetite to do it, and that will tell you everything then that you need to know about this club, about Sir Jim. If we let Newcastle get this deal done, then we all know where we stand as this club. Enfo, if that's how you pronounce your name, and I apologise, I will just say straight off the bat, as you know, if you've been here before, I'm terrible with pronunciations of names. I do my best. Carlos B, please. Again, Carlos B, I'm not going to disagree with you. Again, what is really prevalent and really clear in this fan base and the people that come on here from all across the world is the player or players that we all seem to want, and we all seem to agree on similar players. And I just wish the club and the hierarchy of the club would come to these channels, these smaller channels, and just look through. Because the problem as you get bigger is you obviously get more people who infiltrate chat rooms or chats, right? And, they put all different bits and pieces in there, which is absolutely fine. And they put all bits and pieces in there. But when we're smaller like this, we're concentrated, and you get intelligent comments. As I'm very lucky, I always get comments in here pretty much that are intelligent, well thought out, and we all kind of sing from the same hymn sheet. I just wish the club would come into here and just look at what fans are saying, look at what real fans are saying, and they would know what the fans would want. And it's not just, and what they don't get is fans have eyes, right? And if I would genuinely say most fans can look at a player through years of experience, and we may not always agree on the same player, and we may not always agree on what the player can do, but we all have a kind of consensus and all sort of have a good view of what players can do. And it's no surprise when people go, oh, actually that player, because we all use our eyes and we all know, but the club don't seem to want to do that. So Damien, it is G, isn't it? G6 says we still have the pulling power for players. We do still have, but how long will that last for? And that's the thing, isn't it? You know, Chesco still wants to come to us. Is that because obviously there aren't other options on the table, but we do still have that power? We do still have that, and this is only based on history. This is what we do. We use our history, and as we should, and we're still fortunate to do that. But how long does that last? And this is where we're coming to now with this. Unless this club can move forward and do something, our name is only going to last for so much longer, because, you know, younger fans are not buying United shirts. They're not, you know, we've got older fans and we want these new young fans as well. So our name is only going to go so far. But I think you're right. We still have pulling power for names, but we need to make sure that we now start to use that in the right way to make the club successful. And how do you do that? By buying players and spending money, which is what we are refusing pretty much to do. Camera says, I think the whole world has come together to beg United to buy Sesko. A wake-up call for the Red, the player showing interest in playing for the team. Kamara, exactly. The whole fan base. And this is why it's important that if we start voicing this on X, putting it out there, they do look at it. They do take notes. Now, I've been told that they do. They may not listen and they may not care, but they do take note. And this Chesco deal for me, I think that will possibly define this window. I think it will possibly define this window as to what we'll end up with. Adeyemi says United should focus more on getting a midfielder rather than getting a striker. Damien agrees. Again, I think this is a really interesting and good talking point. And I'm glad you put that in the chat, and it's really nice to see the opinions on here. I think there are three positions that we all agree that we need to address. Keeper, for me, I think is a fundamental one. Midfielder and striker. I think opinions on both are valid opinions, because you can swing whichever way, right? You could have the opinion that our midfield is so bad that you don't believe that we have enough cover in there, and I'd argue games and won or lost in the midfield as well, right? So we need a midfielder in there, proven potential world class, to come into that midfield and hold that together. Okay. You may then also have the opinion, well, actually, do we have enough up front? You know, we've bought players now that we've got enough that we can maybe make do with a number 9. We've bought 2 number 10s who between them have got, 35, 37 goals between them. So there's enough goals potentially there, and we may have enough to supplement that. So that could be one opinion on that. And I can't disagree with that opinion. I can't disagree. I can't say, oh, you're wrong, because that's your opinion and that's a valid, well thought out opinion. My opinion on it is, as much as we do have 2 number 10s that have scored goals, we need goals anyway, right? We do. But unless we can stick that ball in the back of the net, and we haven't had a striker for a number of years, we need a striker. Like, midfield, our midfield is not great. But for those 2 positions, that number 8 and number 6, I think we've got enough cover. I'm not saying I like it. I'm not saying that we shouldn't go and get better players in the midfield. But if we can loan in a defensive midfield specialist in there, we've got enough players in there to... I think we've got enough players in there to cover. We don't have a striker. We've got midfielders. We don't have a striker. This is where I'm at on it. Is that we've got midfielders. We're playing one game a week in the Premier League. I think we've got just about enough cover for that with another loan to supplement that in. But we don't have a striker. We simply don't have a striker. We cannot go into a season and expect there's 2 number 10s to be a number 9. We need specialist players in specialist positions. We've technically got a defensive midfielder. We've technically got a number 8. We've got 2 sorts of number 8s. We've got a Manu that can kind of do that box to box sit and roll, or we do have a Fernandes who can kind of maybe be more of an attacking. But we don't have a striker, and this is where I'm at on it. If I look at all the positions, we don't have a striker. Højlund cannot play there. He cannot play there, and OB is 17 years old. We don't have a striker. If we'd already had, say, like a Chesco, or Højlund was maybe banging in 15 goals, maybe we still needed a striker. Or say, even if Højlund was playing well, I was unlucky, maybe got at least 15 Premier League goals, or maybe even 12, maybe you could argue that you need a striker. And if we were light in the midfield, then again, I think my opinion would switch. But we don't have a striker. And I just don't want to use, and I don't think we can use those 2 number 10s as strikers. We need a striker only because we've got enough in the midfield. But I do think you can go either way on it. Somebody's mindset has to probably, we've got to fall down on that. Are we going to go, we can make do with the number 9s, and we're going to interchange up there, and we're going to do that, and we're going to buy a centre midfielder? Or are we going to not buy a centre midfielder, loan one out, and then focus on number 9 position? Now, to bring all that and back all that up, Fabrizio Romano, who doesn't put stuff out there, he gets stuff right 90% of the time. United are going to go for a striker. This is the position that we're going to go for, and this been put out there last week. And I think this is the position that we're going to go for. Maybe not as fans who want that, or whether we kind of agree with that or not. United are going to go for a striker, and that's where we're going to go, and that's what we're going to do as of now. So I think that midfield definitely needs some work on, and I demand a world-class striker, a world-class midfielder, and a world-class keeper. That's what we deserve as fans. That's what this club deserves. To get us, to quote Omar again, he wants to win the league by 2028. And to do that, you go and get the Carlos B's of this world. You go and get the world-class keeper. You go and get a world-class striker. And that is what we need to do. Okacha FC Online says, do you think this player's already can contend for the top position? No. Sadly to say that, no, I don't. I don't think we can. I think we're nowhere near. I think we can, if all we did with these 2 players with Onana in goal, I think the maximum we push is 8th, and I think that's at a push. I think we are relying on... So instead of buying players and going, we're going to force our way into the top 6, okay? Or we're going to buy these players, and we're going to buy these like a Liverpool, like a City. We're going to buy these players, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to force our way in. We're going to financially force our way in, so we know that even though there's a chance we may not, we're not going to leave it up to chance. We're not going to leave it up to being an optimistic or lucky. We're not going to rely on teams maybe not doing well, we're going to make our own luck and we're going to buy other players to get us up there. That's what we should be doing. That's what Liverpool and Arsenal have done. What this club has done to us is we're going, well, we need to be optimistic. We need to hope. We need to live on hope, and we need to pray that we might do well. We know Amorim can get 5 to 10% more from these players. You know, maybe Newcastle will not do as well. Villa maybe not as great. So we are relying on other factors outside of ourselves, and I can't get on board with that. And as a fan base, this is what we seem to be accepting now, is that, you know, is that we need to be hopeful, and we need to almost hold hands with some candles and pray. And we need to be praying for this club. We need to be holding hands and praying together, because we need some hope to get this club into fifth. And that's where I feel that we are sometimes, is that we why do we not demand more than this? We should be Chesco, Carlos B. You know, we should be getting these players to force our way into the top 5 instead of just praying with some hope. Xerxes needs to work on his power shots. Xerxes is a funny one for me. I've not seen him play yet, so I don't know where he's at. I don't mind if Xerxes doesn't work on his power shots. I don't mind if he doesn't shoot. I want to see Xerxes more of a creative player. In fact, what I want to see, the goals that I want to see this season more than anything else, is I want to see a striker put the ball in the back of the net from 6 yards out. I don't want to see a striker running on the edge of the box, smacking in a worldie from 25 yards. Don't get me wrong, that's great. But I want to see a striker in the box, scoring a header, scoring these scrappy goals, getting the ball and can tap it in. Those are the goals that you want to see. Because as much as they're not amazing goals, it means that we're doing the right things. It means we're getting the ball into the box. It means the striker has got the ball to his feet. The striker is in the box with the ball at his feet. He's turning, he's spinning around, he's scoring goals. This is what I want to see. I want a striker and I want a team who can do this amazing passing, but can get the ball into the box, can get the ball to feet, and the striker spins round and scores goals. That is what I want to see. It's not amazing, but that is what we need to see, are those types of goals from a striker. So Damien says, Rasmus can't be as bad as last season. Can he? Ooh, did you want my honest opinion on it? Yep. Does he get better? Okay. We had more games last season, for starters. So we had more games last season for Rasmus to score more goals. So Damien says, I am Irish, watching from Blimey. All the way from New Zealand. Again, this is why I love this. I love talking to you guys. I mean, we are going global. We've got people from Ethiopia, from the States, Australian. I mean, this is why this community is fantastic. So I really appreciate you watching this. It's amazing, mate. I love it. Thank you so much. I don't have words. It genuinely means so much to me. You'll never know what it means to me to talk to you, amazing people. It is amazing. Can Rasmus be as bad as last season? Yes. We had more games last season. I think Rasmus needs a break from us. I think he's infected by last season. I just think he needs a break, and I'm all for that. I think Rasmus needs a break. He needs to get away. He needs to get away from this club and have a break. I don't want him to be as bad as last season, but I sadly suspect that he will be. Xerxes should get more chances at stepping up front. So Rasmus is a player for the future, maybe in the next 5 years, not a player. I agree with that. Adeyemi, I agree with that. Xerxes is not a striker for me, but you could potentially put him up front. Rasmus is one for the future. He's been bought for now. He's been asked to play an absolute horrific position in a terrible team. You look at the strikers that have failed in this team because we can't get the ball to them, and you're asking a kid to come in at 20 years old to do that. Have we burnt another youth player? I don't know, but let's hope not. Akachar FX says Rasmus is a definition of running into the box without position for scoring. Instead, he defends his own ball. What do you think about that? Rasmus is... The problem with Rasmus, first and foremost for me, is education. Okay? 20 years old. And I'll put it out there to the chat, is how many Man United players of 20 years old could come into this team, any position, and be expected to be a first team player. There's only one player that comes to mind for me, and I'll let you suggest some names, but there's only one player for me that I think's only ever managed to do that. Maybe two. By the age of 20, who could get established in this team? There's two names I can think of for me. Maybe if you can suggest more, but there's two names for me. Chilip says Xerxes is more of a 10. I agree, he is. Adeyemi says all the way from Nigeria, and we're enjoying the show. Thank you so much. Again, this is what I love. Nigeria, all over the world. I mean, it's just, thank you so much. Toxic United, another little bit of a legend of the chat there, says I don't know why people still believe in Haaland. He's championship level. I think for me, I want to believe in him because he's a kid. I mean, so there's two parts to that, right? There is winner's mentality and there is a sort of hope, right? I've got two. I've got my heart and my head, okay? So if I'm going to go with my heart, I'd say Rasmus, I like the kid. 20 years old, being asked to come into this squad with this ownership, with these players, with everything that's happened in this club at 20 years old, asking him to do that is a disgrace. I'm not surprised he's burnt. My winner's logical head says he's not the guy. I like him. I hope he does well, but I think he needs to move on. And I wish him luck. And I really hope he comes back in. And I really hope he comes and turns into a world-class striker. That's where I'm at on him. What else do we say? Chip says Rasmus has some of the worst movement as a striker I've seen. Never in a position to score. Tulip, fantastic. I agree with you. I think I said that. I can't remember if you were on the game or not, but I definitely said that in the game. There's a couple of instances where, so you've got strikers who run into channels or who make runs off of the last man, and they make runs off of the last man because they're trying to bring other people into the game, right? If you're so desperate for the ball and there's nobody running into the box and you're the only outlet as a striker and you're running away from goal and there's nobody running into the box, that's not a smart run because you're not bringing anyone into the game. Strikers should be running into the channels and wide when they're either chasing a lost cause, that does happen, but primarily when you know that there's players in those number 10s or the wingers who are going to run beyond you, or that's something that you've practiced. But he doesn't do that. He doesn't make those runs. The ball doesn't stick to his feet. He's just. I like the kid, but I think the fair thing to say is for him to move on. Mark Harris in the chat, legend. Without a strike force and a competent keeper, we'll always be a mid-table. Yeah. Mark Harris, love it. Simple, to the point. Exactly. Agree with you completely. We need a strike force. In fact, I'd argue we need two strikers up there. Not Rasmus in, out, and another striker in. We need two strikers in. Chip says Lamar carried Spain to Euros at 16, Mbappe to France at exactly. Again, you look at how rare that is, right? So Lamar, again, 16 years old, again, you look at those talents, they are rare, right? But again, so the examples that I were, we do have. So Chip says Wazza, Rooney, etc. did it. Rooney was going to be mine. Ronnie, I'd have not a debate, but Ronnie, how old was Ronnie when he had that season? When he had that Ballon d'Or season at United? Can't remember how old he was now, but I can't remember. Ronaldo, age, first Ballon d'Or, because I can't remember now. Ballon d'Or. 20 came second to Ballon d'Or came when he was 23. So that season for me, I think it was 2 seasons when he was 22, 23. That's when he won the Ballon d'Or. At 18, 19, 20, Ronnie, don't get me wrong, he was good, but he didn't carry the team. So the ones that I think him was Rooney and Giggs. So Giggs, he come into the team when he was like an 18-year-old. So what I mean by that is not necessarily carrying teams, but you come into a team at a young age and you hold your own, and you're able to hold your own in that position. So Giggsy on the left-hand side, 18 years old. By the time he was 20 years old, he was holding that position down. One of the best players in the world. Rooney, 18 years old, comes into this Man United team and scores a hat-trick against Fenerbahce. But the point is, and then obviously you've got the Mbappes of the world and the Yamals who are a grade up. But the point here is that there's not many people of that age who come into a squad and don't necessarily have to carry the squad, but who come in and hold that position down and become best in their position. There's not many. So to ask Højlund to do that, I just don't think that was fair, and it just wasn't going to happen. If Højlund turns into a world-class striker, no, let's have a look at that. Mark Harris says Højlund keeps turning up. He thinks he's world-class, no morals. I think Højlund turns up because he's told to, mate. I think he'll go. I think if he's told to go, I think he'll go. I don't think he's a mercenary like the others. He turns up, mate, because we haven't got an option. I don't think we've got another striker. And I think he turns up because he has to. What else we got going on? Okito F Online says, what's the fate of Onana in the club? His fate of the club right now is he's staying. He's been told he's staying. He's on tour. And he's been told he's staying at the club. He's not been told he has to leave. I don't think we're looking for a number one. I think we're looking for a number two. I think Lemens is where we go. I think the timing now is there, and I think that's what's going to happen. I think he's going to stay, hoping that Lemens can come in and force him out, and then Onana will get a move next season. Who's going to be the number one? Right now, Onana's the number one. Who do I think it's going to be? I think it'll be someone else. I think it'll be... That's a good question, actually. If Lemens comes in, I don't even know if he's going to go straight into the number one position. So I think right here and now, Onana is number one. The first mistake he makes, and Lemens comes in. Adeyemi says, we're not talking about Onana because he cost us more last season. We definitely need a replacement. The guy that exactly that. And again, you make a good point there. We didn't need to change the goalkeeper. We screwed him over. He thought he was coming back, and then we go and get Onana as a ball playing goalkeeper. We replaced one of the best goalkeepers that we had for the best part of 10 years. And then we go and get Onana as a ball-playing keeper who when we didn't play out from the back. And what people people at the time, there are lots of other channels, and I keep saying this, and I'm not going to mention any names. There's certain people on there who were clambering for Onana to come. He's going to revolutionise the team, revolutionise this and that, bloody, 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 blah. And the one fundamental that people forgot that you needed as a keeper was, guess what? Being able to save, have good positioning, and just have the fundamental to be able to position and save shots. I don't understand what the thinking was there. Damien says Rasmus has been such a disappointment. Irish bias here, but we should have gone Evan Ferguson. He's on loan to Roma. We should have got him nearer. Great point. Evan Ferguson, I can't believe he's gone to Roma. I would have gone for him as well. He would have been one on my list. I'm not saying we should have got him at the time. The problem with that is that with Brighton, they would have wanted like 100 mil at the time. It's clearly not worth that. So I think we dodged a bullet in terms of the price at that point. But right now, I would have gone a punt on that. I think he's a great player. I think potentially, again, a good player. But we've missed out on that one. I think we dropped the ball completely on that one. Toxic says, what are your views on United more fans in this? What are your fans on getting more fans in that stadium and the club for the World Cup final? It'd be nice, but with this 4,000 licensing thing, the 4,000 licensing thing is going to come up. It's going to happen, right? So I don't know what the stadium is, 80,000 people times 4,000, because that's what it'll be. I think it'll be a tier system. There'll be more than that. There'll be at least 4,000, maybe 10,000. And they won't go to real fans. And it's going to be a concert hall. It's going to be, you're going to lose. And I will always say this, the match-going fans are fundamental. Us as fans, we would all love to go to the club. We all support the club. I think we're equal in our support. The match-going fans are the lifeblood of this club. They literally live there. They've been, they go every single week, pay thousands and thousands of pounds, and now they're going to be priced out of that. I'm not comfortable with that. They need to be protected, but yet they're going to force those out. And I think that is one of the most disgusting, despicable things as a club that we could do. And the new stadium, is it the Women's World Cup or, whatever else it is? Or I don't know if you mean on the old stadium. I mean, I would much prefer. So that's my views on the brand new stadium. I would much prefer to keep our home. I'd much prefer to increase capacity where we are now. I don't think we can. And make that state of the art. But that's just not going to happen, is it? I mean, the Glazers are going to sell our soul to the devil, and we're going to pay the price. Damien says, Giggs, Rooney in my top 5. Exactly. Giggs and Rooney, for me, those two players, irrespective of what you think about Giggsy as a person, it's a travesty that he's not in the Hall of Fame yet. Two players of my era. Mark Harris, Damien, both granny munchers. Mark Harris always makes me laugh. No comment on that one. There's enough evidence out there to support that alleged claim, my friend. Chilplay says, one of Nine's problems is he always goes for saves one-handed and not two, so he can't catch the ball and parries it into danger. Exactly. Lemens, exactly. He goes with two, and exactly that. Toxic says Onana is not a ball playing keeper. Where are we? Slice. Just come back a little bit. Come down. Yeah, Toxic. I agree with that completely. we got scammed on that one, didn't we? Slices of SIB says it's not a race. It's a marathon at the end. Chesco personally went, so I'm in with that. Okay, again, slices of Sib. That's a valid opinion. That is not a sprint. Again, I think that, you know, I don't disagree with that, right? Because right now I can't disagree with it on the basis that we need plays in. Okay, I can't disagree on that basis because we need plays in. I do disagree with it on the basis that, as Mbermo has shown, and this is not me calling you out, this is just my opinion on this one. As Mbermo has shown, 65 million plus 6 on a player that we chased for 7 weeks, he's not fit enough to play against West Ham. Just let that sink into our heads for a second. I agree that it's not a race, and we can allude back and spin back to Ineos have said that we don't want to run to a decision that's wrong and walk to a decision that's right and benefits the club. But in Burma proves that that's a load of nonsense, because we didn't run into the deal. We walked into a deal and still paid what the selling club asked for. In fact, we probably paid slightly more. So I agree with the sentiment, and I do agree in part with what you're saying there. But for me, I just don't get on board with it. I think it's just an Ineos spin. I'm not saying that you're spinning it for Ineos, and your opinion is a valid opinion, and part of me does agree with it. But that for me is Ineos spin, and that's where you can already see Ineos getting into this fan base already, is that we're happy to wait to the end of the window. We wait to the end of the window and our players are not ready. We've over the last 6-7 years, we've had windows where players are not ready, and we've not won the league. We've had an awful start. We've had a despicable start because our players are not there. So it really does depend really on your viewpoint on it. But my viewpoint is that we don't need to run to a decision that's bad, but we need to do something, and we need to do something quick. You know, all other teams, Liverpool, City, Arsenal, they've run into deals, but you look at the deals that they've done. So you can do quick deals, but we're not efficient enough. That for me is we shouldn't run into deals. Is the rhetoric of the Glazers, is the rhetoric of Ineos, is that we don't run into deals because they're not efficient enough to do these deals. We're not good at doing deals. The moment that we do come good at deals, that is when you will see us doing quicker deals. But right now it's because we simply cannot do these quick deals. But again, I like that opinion. I think it's a very valid and a very good observation. But let's see at the end of the window how that works out. Oksha says, can you consider Onana with Van Der Sar was in his prime? Don't know who that is, but Onana I think is awful. Sasa says, so we are not looking in second league. Why are we not looking in the second league? We should be. There are loads of players in there, and I completely agree. Adim says, how much will Wharton cost us? The earth. But I think Wharton's been marked as as one for next season. I do. I think there's nothing wrong with him. I think we are looking at him, but I think it's going to be too expensive right now and difficult to do. Toxic in just in by Toxic, and you are quite accurate. Just in United, Newcastle have told Leipzig they are prepared to pay over 60 million for Chesco. No bid yet, as Newcastle are waiting to see whether Chesco agrees terms. And that's come from Jacobs, which again, he's in the know as well. So here we are. And this is what we're saying on here as well, right? This is what we've been saying today on here, is that this is where we are. Newcastle are going to put in a bid. They're waiting because Chesco wants to come to us. And the moment that Newcastle make that official bid, we've dropped out of this race. And I just want us to let that sink in right now, that we've got this opportunity. We are in talks with this player. We have made an official bid, but Newcastle are waiting to see if United come in with a bid for this player, because the player wants to come to us. If we drop out and Newcastle make that bid, then we have dropped out of this race. Just before I go, let's get through these. Amarin saying more pain. What he's saying, more pain. What a positive manager we have. I think he's speaking the truth. But again, it's a good point. Why is he not? He was never questioned on that. He said that, but nobody picked up on that, and we pick up on it here. When your manager is saying that, what does that actually mean? And I agree. In a time where we need positivity, what does he mean by that? We'll end up Manny Grunches. Hilarious, Damien. We will end up with Vardy instead. Oh my God. Vardy is still miles better than Rasmus. Oh yeah, for sure. Ineos is shit at deals. I'm with you on that one. Slice, as I said, mate. I mean, I agree. This is not me trying to invalidate your opinion on it at all. I think you're right. And right now, we have to wait until the end. But yeah, I agree with you. Ineos are terrible. Adiemi says, Ineos are very stingy. They need to learn to do business like Chelsea. I know. Well, the ironic thing about that is they model themselves on them, except they don't do it from a financial and a business sense, right? Chip says, Wharton is a good long-term passer. He's slow, zero go threat, lacks physical side of things. If we're going to pay crazy money for a player, exactly, then we need to go get Carlos B next summer, more rounded. Again, see, this is why this chat is brilliant, because we've got so many amazing people in here who just, your opinions are fantastic. Walton, I'm not going to lie and say that I've seen too much of him play. Carlos B, I've seen him play quite a bit, not super in depth, so I'll leave that up to the chat. But I'm certainly going to be watching him more and more this season. Toxic United, the decision now lies mainly with the player and his representatives if he wants to come. Chesco. Yeah, Chesco wants to come, but it's whether or not we make that bid now. It's going to move, and we're going to know, rightly or wrongly, about Chesco in the next day or so. And I just hope it's for the better. I'm sitting here confident that I can negotiate better than Ineos by miles. Toxic, I would rather you negotiate our deals, my friend, rather than Ineos. And I am confident, I would back you on this one, that you are more confident. We need him, exactly. So Ronald Crooks, thank you. That's Damien G6. Thank you, mate. Thank you. So on that basis, we've been going for an hour and 48 minutes. Amazing. Thank you so much for being here, guys. Amazing show. It's gone so quickly, and the only reason that we can go so quick is basically because of the chat in here. I think that it's really important when we get on a roll that we need to see this through. If it takes an hour, if it takes 2 hours, I think it's really important that we all get our opinions here, and we keep abreast of this news. So, quick one. Mark Slice of Civ says, I'd rather have Strand Larsen as a striker. Right now, mate, any striker other than Lewin, I'm not going to say no to. Right now, maybe Wilson. Vardy, maybe. But Lewin is the one for me. If we can get over that hump and he can bugger off to someone else, then I wouldn't say no to any other striker. Even if he comes, and if Chesco does go to the tune, then we come back on it and we can start discussing other strikers. Because, yeah, even if it comes to the midfield, we'll not pass to Chesco. Bruno disappearing, man. Tired of seeing that bum's dopey face. You do make me laugh. Yeah, I mean, inconsistently for me, still inconsistent, and I need to see more from Bruno. You know, if I see another sulky face of his, then it's going to blow my mind. Just because he's the captain and he definitely needs a little bit more decorum. See you later, guys. One Toxic says, still a little scared to sign Chesco. He's 22. Chief Earth says, hi, JB. Hello, my friend. I hope we are doing well today, buddy. I'm going to go now. We've been doing this for an hour and 50. Amazing. I honestly have no words. Speechless for the amount of support, for the amount of comments on here, the intelligent comments. I love the differences in how we think, in how we talk on here. Everyone's respectful. I love it. I can just say thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much to everyone in the chat. It's coming to the point now where I can't go back and name everybody because I'll be here for literally another hour. It just means that we are getting bigger. Every one of you in this chat, I thank you so much for being here. You make the show what it is. And without you guys, it literally is not a show. So if anything breaks, I am on X, and I think my Outlook and stuff is let me see if I can stick it in the chat before I go, actually. I really, in terms of like stuff like Outlook and all that, I mean, it's one set up specifically for the channel, so you can pretty much put in there, and I'll try and respond back to you. I'm also on X. I'll stick my details in the chat as well. Some breaking stuff. Apparently we've breaking stuff as well is that apparently we've made an offer before I go, because it'd be really cool if we could get that live as well. Let me put my details in the chat. Let's wear that in there. Adiemi, please, when if you stick on the bell, just to let you know, it will let you know when I'm going to do another show. Basically, Damien, I kind of try and do a show roughly about the same time each day, and then I may do one this evening. It really depends. It's a bit up and down right now, just because it's like half term and I've got the kids and stuff, but I will literally make as many shows per day. If anything breaks and there's anything interesting to chat about, I'll jump back on again. So I don't really have a set time. I kind of tend to go about 11ish. But if things go well, then obviously I will set up a kind of more, what's the word I'm looking for? My brain's gone. I'll set up a more consistent stream. So it really does depend on the show, and really kind of, but I do try and do one at least every single day. Last couple of days I've done maybe 2 or 3 a day. So let me know in the chat suggestions of shows. I try and do a transfer window, kind of like a past one as well. So we've done 92, 93, 93, 94. So I'm planning to do a 94.5. Obviously depending on what breaks and timing and that kind of stuff. So I do try and do one every day. So yeah, just before we go, I'm going to see if anything's breaking, because I've just seen something that's caught my eye that basically says that we've stuck in a bid. How exciting. I'd love to do this live. Tell you where it's coming from. So if we have put in a bid, this would be really cool live. Can't see anything just yet that we've put in a bid. What's Ornstein saying? Nothing yet from Ornstein. Anything else? No, nothing yet. Laurie, what's he on about? Nothing yet. Let me have a quick look. Before we go, because I don't want to come off and then come back on again. I can do, that's fine. United, Chesco bid. Let's see what we're going on there. 2 hours ago, looking to hijack bet, Chesco bid. Yeah, there's nothing of any value right now. Yeah, so there's nothing of any value yet. So if anything does break, I hope it does. A bid for McTominay. Mark Harris, I'm giving you the last word, my friend. A bid for McTominay. Love it. That you can have the last word today, my friend. I love that. If anything does break, I will come back on. Let me know. My X and stuff is in there. Feel free to give me a shout. We can continue this conversation over there. I never let my phone down, so we can continue that over there. If you still want to chat, suggestions for show, message me. Let me know what you want to do, and of course I'll see you on the next one. And Mark, no bid for Muck Sauce. So see you very soon, and have a good afternoon, morning, evening, where you are in the world, and I'll see you soon. Take care all. Bye bye.